my phone, but that's okay. We'll make it work.
Hey everyone, Chris McLean back again with another episode, and I'm here today with the guys from Social Marketing 180. They're a digital marketing firm, and they work on every step of the marketing process to ensure that their clients get booked appointments on a monthly basis. They've got a very, very cool, very interesting process that they do to get clients booked. Andrew and Sal, gents, thanks for joining me on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Chris. Appreciate being here.
Yeah, appreciate your time too, man.
Absolute pleasure. It's always good. We've only done a couple of three-way calls so far, so it's always exciting to get a third face up on the screen. So it's good to get a duo one. So with that in mind,
always fun, man.
Sorry.
So three-ways are always fun.
Well, yeah, exactly. Let's hope this is just as fun, guaranteed. So take us through your story, guys. So how did you come together? I know you got a bit of a story, but take us through how Social Marketing 180 came to be, and then we'll get into what you do and how you help and that cool system you got there for your client acquisition.
Yeah, sure. So we'll keep the short version. There might not be enough, paper in the world to write this story, but so I'll let Andrew go ahead and start. He's actually the founder of Social Marketing 180. Had another agency at the time called Stupid Simple Agency, which I think was like the second agency that I built. Built my first one when I was 20, and after about 4 years, man, it was tough, man. My first go around with that. But Andrew, man, go ahead and tell them story of how SM180 actually started. And we kind of lean into, how we end up meeting and what we got together.
Cool. Yeah. So, I mean, you tell me, Chris, there's a long version of how it all kind of came together because it's a pretty insane story, to be honest, in terms of business to business and how the name Social Marketing 180 even came about. Initially what it actually was Social Marketing 180. I mean, so you tell me if you want to go the long way, we can. If you want to go kind of the short, straight to the point, we can always do that too.
No, let's get into it. That's the interesting stuff, right? Let's get into the long version.
Yeah. So essentially, what originally happened was I think I was 18 years old, and I go to, you probably know him. I think every marketer at this point probably knows him. His name's Ty Lopez. And have you ever heard of him, Chris? Yeah. So Ty Lopez, here in my garage.
The Lambo guy.
Yeah, here in my garage, exactly. So he actually had a conference out here in I think it was Beverly Hills or something like that at the Roosevelt Hotel. And I go there, and just to kind of cut it short, it's a 2-day event. First time I ever go out there, and I kind of just made the decision that I want to explore what it looks like to be an entrepreneur, because I've been working at just regular jobs and whatnot. And I went out there, didn't really know what to expect. It's just my first ever business conference, and I meet my mentor now, really good dude. His name's John. I'll just keep it that John, and he's actually been a marketer for probably over 30 years. He's insanely good at sales, and I met him there, and he's sounds kind of weird, but he's hey man, I'm here at this event. Would it be cool if you drove me to my buddy's house in Malibu? And I was thinking to myself, I'm man, this guy kind of sounds like a killer, just drive out to Malibu. And he's like, yeah, man, I would take an Uber, but right now it's going to take almost 3 hours because after this event, traffic is going to take 3 hours. And it's going to be almost $150 to go 20 miles. And he's and if you do that, man, I'll let you meet Ty Lopez. And I was come on, man, this guy doesn't know Ty Lopez. And the meeting eventually ended, the conference after the second day. And coincidentally, he does know Ty Lopez. He brings me up there, and I'm wow, this guy's really the real deal. That's really weird. And I ended up taking him to his buddy's house in this humongous mansion in Malibu. And I'm just thinking to myself, man, who the heck is this guy? Who, what the heck? And we end up talking at him and his buddy's house till 2 a.m. And he's hey man, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for giving me a ride over here. In exchange, I want to give you some courses. And I'm oh, okay. And he gives me he takes out his drive, and he gives me literally $20,000 worth of marketing courses of older dudes like Kern and even Pagan and things like that, of marketing and the mindset and branding and all that good stuff. And I ended up just diving real deep into it. And then from there, that's just kind of how it took off. And from there, I went to just more conferences. And I ended up meeting one of my best friends of all time. His name's Marcus. And that would be when my very first venture started and where it would end up of how social marketing came about, because what we did a venture together was originally e-commerce, and that's how I learned like Facebook ads and things. And from there, we ended up partnering up together for like e-commerce, and we had from there we ended up stopping it because PayPal ended up taking all of our money because we went from $1,000 a month to over $50,000 a month in e-commerce.
Yeah, right.
So PayPal stopped it for like almost like embezzlement, because the transactions are coming straight from China. Because obviously we're paying people and things like that.
Yep.
So the processors charged it, stopped it. And then from there, we ended up, sounds crazy, but we ended up selling SMS text for businesses. We'd go to businesses, knock on the door and say, hey, we have a tablet. I think it was like $126 a month, a $2.99 startup fee. And yeah, I think it was $126 a month. And that's how we got paid. So we'd sell them a product of SMS texting. And it was originally, the name was SMS 180. That was the name. And it was just a made up name. And there was no licenses or anything like that. And then from there, we ended up kind of stopping that business and saying like, man, like, why don't we go and try this, marketing for businesses and see if we can get actual people coming through the door. And we just rolled with the name SMS 180. And he ended up taking that side of like what he wanted to do more towards like the MLM side. And I was never really a big fan of MLM companies. So I was like, hey man, that's awesome. You helped me basically learn Facebook ads, how to do all that stuff. I appreciate you. But go do your thing, man. Just go do your MLM like marketing. And he was super successful on that side. And then I went to going to like restaurants and doing it that way. So then I just took SMS 180 and I just called it, well, social marketing. So why don't I just roll with social marketing 180? So that's the name of how it came about. Was originally from SMS 180, which I don't know what that is now, but it's not social marketing 180. We own that one. So, so that's how it kind of came about. And, just going door to door, I literally probably called 3,000 businesses, probably got no for every single one. And at that point I was like, man, I got to learn sales, and started listening to Grant Cardone and more of that stuff. And fast forward a little bit, I have, 5 to 6 clients. And from that point, I meet another guy. His name's Rob. He has his own agency. He sold it and had a new product where he was teaching people how to go to the next level in their agency, going from 10 grand a month to, 30 to 100K a month. And I was just stuck at like the $7,000 to $8,000 a month. And at that event, that's where I met Sal. And Sal, you still there? I can't see the screen. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, still here, man.
how Sal and me like kicked it off was, there was a guy at the very first day at the event. And if it wasn't for this guy, I don't think me and Sal would really be friends. Because at the event, there's an older guy, like maybe late 60s, maybe early 70s. And we were at the dinner because it was like a mastermind. So the actual owner of the event like took everybody out to dinner. And he looks at me because it's like more of like a buffet kind of situation. And I was like, hey man, you want any of these vegetables? And he looks at me and he goes, no, I don't eat vegetables. And I was like, what do you mean you don't eat vegetables? He's like, vegetables are bad for you. They're going to kill you. They're really bad for you. And I was like, the first time I've ever heard of it. So the next day, Sal's actually there at the table with me. Like we just happened to be sitting next to each other. And I'm like, I just tap him on the shoulder. I'm like, hey man, you see that guy over there? And he's like, yeah, what's up? I'm like, yeah, last night at the dinner, that guy told me he doesn't eat vegetables. And Sal just like looks up from whatever he was doing. He just looks up and he goes, yeah, that won't last very long. And then just goes straight back to like doing his paperwork in the most serious way. And I started busting up, and then he starts busting up. And then from there, we just got some pizza afterwards and kicked it off. And
took me on a nice little date, get some lunch, wine and dine with me. And next thing you know, man, he's like, man, dude, like you sound like you know what you're doing when it comes to sales and marketing and business and stuff. And he was like, dude, man, if I give you a couple of favors, man, you think you can hook me up on teaching me your sales process? And I was like, man, for you, I'll just charge you $1,000, bro. Normally I charge like 5 to 10, but nah, I'm just kidding, man. I was like, man, anybody who buys me pizza, dude, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's it. Dude, like, they got my heart, man. So, that's my weak spot. So if you ever meet me, and you're like, man, dude, this is a lot of money, just offer me some pizza before before I pitch you, man. You might get
the funny thing of what he's saying is that's how I very first met the original person I told you about, like my mentor, John. Because at that event, Ty Lopez is like, hey, don't go to lunch by yourself, invite someone to go to lunch with you. And he happened to be sitting next to me. And I was like, hey man, like, can I buy you some lunch? And it coincidentally had to be pizza and burgers. So I was like, it worked for John. It's going to work for this guy. So I was like, let's go get some good pizza and then go from there and then just pick up the tab.
Man, he had a plan all along, dude. I didn't even know that part, dude, man.
That's sneaky. He rolled you up.
He knew I was coming, looked me up, man, had a sight set. You know what I'm saying? Man, dude. This guy says
you got to do it, man. Sales. That's how you got to do it. Yeah. Man, so now,
not enough sales, but your prospecting, dude, was on point at least.
Yeah.
So what's your side?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So what's your side, Sal? So you obviously came from more of a sales background. How did you?
I'm gonna give you a short story, a short version of the long story here. So to put it really blunt and simple here. Kind of how I got started in my whole career, if you will. I grew up in small family businesses. My dad, he was always in contracting, restaurants, that sort of thing. But he could never quite get together. He was kind of like his own worst enemy. You know what I'm saying? Most entrepreneurs, they'll do good, self-sabotage themselves, et cetera, et cetera. And unfortunately, when I was, I think about 16 years old, got into a bad car accident. My dad broke his neck. Family lost everything overnight. We went from living in the beach to living in the hood. That whole sob story. Dropped out of high school, was working 2-3 jobs, helped my family out. And back then, I was looking up, this mid 2000s. So I was online looking for ways to make money online, how to start a business online. And back then, there was a lot of scammy stuff. But I came across a lot of the old internet marketing forums for some of the old guys around here. Wicked Fire, Black Hat World, Digital Point, Warrior Forum, all those kind of places. That was the first place I really found a success. So I was going on those threads. I was reading stuff, educating myself for 2 years, aka trying to be perfect, but not really getting shit done, procrastinating. And eventually I noticed that there's these BST threads, which are the buy, sell, trade, where people offer different services like graphic design, web design, all that kind of stuff. And so what I did was, I went ahead and posted on, I believe it was wickedfire.com, 3 free review copies. And so for people who are had higher posts and were admins and, different influencers, I guess is what you call it nowadays, that are in those forums. And so I gave away these 3 free review copies of different graphic design services. I taught myself a little bit of Photoshop and, did really good, got some really awesome reviews. Then, I was charging I think $25 for a logo back then. It was $5 for a banner for each one. It was $100 for a website, man, just dirt cheap, rates. Yeah. But, doing that, I was making after I don't know, just a few weeks, I was making $500 a day. And so I got into outsourcing overseas and all this stuff. And that's kind of when the downfall came, because I had no clue what I was doing. I had no clue about business. I was a hustler. I knew a little bit, had a little bit of skill, knew how to sell and stuff from, working, those jobs. I think my first job when I was selling cell phones in the mall, those guys in the kiosk, trying to wave everybody down and, getting to talk to, and, sell them on a phone. So I learned really quickly from, some sales guys and some basic stuff, but to be honest, that was more of the, scammy, salesy, type stuff, the annoying stuff that people hate. And so anyways, fast forward about 4 years of doing that business, man, it started really taking a toll on me. I was doing everything. I didn't know how to properly hire. I was losing money, outsourcing stuff overseas, dealing with quality issues. And I was selling so much stuff, I just couldn't get it done. And so I kind of imploded from within, and I gave up on the business, man. At that point, I was super depressed. I felt like crap. My health was going to crap, and just just really stressed out, man, and depressed from all that, dude. I'm telling you, man, I want to put a gun to my head, and so I just kind of quit. Took a stoner job for a couple of years, bouncing back and forth, working in places 3, 6, 12 months. Any entrepreneurs listening, you know what I'm talking about. Great running businesses and selling, but terrible employees. And after a little while of that, I went down to I moved from Florida to Minnesota and then down to Texas for a girl. And after about a month there, it was just not what I thought it would be. And so I had my heart broken basically. And at that time, I was, selling door-to-door alarm systems down there. This guy, Juan, down in Rio Grande Valley in Texas, near Mission Alamo, he was teaching me basically all about, sales and stuff, and gave me some different books and things like that. And that's when I kind of first came across Grant Cardone. and started listening to his stuff. But I ended up leaving there after about another month after we broke up. But like when I was down there, because I had like a little bit of IT background and stuff, so I was able to go sell the alarm systems door to door and install myself. So I'd make like $750 to $1,000 an install. And so like there's a point, I got to the point where I was doing 2-3 per day. But I just was feeling heartbroken, sad, depressed, didn't have any family down there. So I was like blowing that money, and I'd only work like 1 or 2 days a week. And so eventually I just decided to go back up to Minnesota. I had some family up there. So, I took that drive home, took my beating, and I got back and I decided, I'm going to apply myself. And so I ended up working for a managed service provider, like an IT company. Got my first kind of higher up position job where I was the sales and marketing manager there. I still didn't really know what I was doing. I was good at sales. I didn't really understand marketing back then, even though I understood graphic design, conversion rate optimization, a little bit of SEO, but I just didn't I didn't have any of the fundamentals yet. I didn't understand how to come up with a marketing plan from scratch. But I was very good at, if you plug me in a specific job, I'll get good at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and so for me, kind of just everything I've done and learned in my life was just out of necessity, really, to take care of my family. And so, I did that for about a year, and ended up hating it, and got my first job actually working for a small web design agency. And that's kind of when I first saw my first results. I believe at that point I was hired as the director of sales, which was I was the only sales guy. So it was just a title at that point,
Yeah.
And I think they were doing $10,000 to $12,000 a month at the time. And, to put it very simply, I took I think it was Brett Weaver, his with You Gurus, one of his courses on a 5-step discovery process for selling ticket websites and marketing plans. And so my first month in there, using that system and building my own 5-step process, I was able to sell a $30,000 e-commerce website. And I was just what crap, I couldn't believe it myself, because at that time, I'd never sold anything worth that much. And so this kept happening over and over again, following this process. And so eventually the company grew from $10,000 a month to $100,000 a month in revenue within I think it was 7 to 9 months of me being there. And so we were able to hire 5 or 6 more employees. The owner was able to go from living in or run her business out of her basement to where we had a nice place downtown. And eventually I ended up leaving that place, and I was making good money. It wasn't really there was kind of hit a glass ceiling there, right? And it seemed the more money I made them, the more the less respect they had for me, right? And so I kind of just left because I didn't care about the money. And after I ended up leaving there, I ended up starting my first business within 12 months. With everything I've learned and using this system called EOS by a guy named Gino Wickman, I was able to take a startup from $0 to $2.5 million a year in the first year. Due to some business politics and issues with investors and stuff, I ended up leaving that company. But I felt really good. As my first business, I started from scratch. Sold the business, and then from there I got back into running my own agency, which, getting back to the point here. And so I was running it's called Stupid Simple Agency, and I had actually gotten back into running agency. My buddy Jordan, he was using he was posting about this new software called High Level. And everybody in the space, in the space that we do with lead gen and stuff, they probably know what High Level is. But if not, go check it out for sure. So it just all the problems I used to have when I was doing lead gen in the past, on different accounts, this kind of solved all the problems. And so, long story short, got into High Level, ended up working with the same guy, Rob, as Andrew, paid him some money, got into his high ticket programs, and I was able to go from $0 to 30 grand a month in that business within 3 months of recurring revenue. And so at that time, though, I just, I'd hired some family friends. I wasn't really good with I wasn't a good leader back then. This is about 3 years ago now. I didn't really understand how a hiring process, recruiting process. I didn't have trainings and stuff. I knew I needed systems and processes and things. I kind of built those out, but I was the biggest jerk in the world to work for, though, because I demand absolute perfection, and didn't understand that not everybody worked like me, and not often typically you don't want people who have your brain, right? When it comes to growing and scaling your business. And so I got to a point that I didn't feel defeated, but I had a new opportunity come along with one of my clients who was a gym here we go. These guys are here, fight or flight. And it was my first client in that business. Within like 2 weeks of like just killing it for them, they ended up paying me a retainer in full for the year for like 20 grand. And so I got, I ended up spending a lot of my time with them. And just kind of natural evolution was after about 6 months of taking them from like $5,000 to $20,000 a month in recurring revenue, just as them being my client, just doing lead gen for them. They asked me to be a business partner with them, and so kind of took them on. And at that time, me and Andrew were talking, and so I kind of just let my accounts go stagnant. And we had been talking for at that time, Andrew, for about 6 months or so, I believe, maybe a little bit longer. I don't know, maybe 9 months. I'm terrible at times. And so, we had been talking the time, and I was like talking to him about taking over my accounts in my business and kind of partnering up in things, because I wanted to really focus on this new gym, and that I could kind of, from a high level perspective, help them with the things in the business, help them with the sales, marketing process, recruiting, hiring, all that stuff. And, so I kind of, we were in those talks for a little while. And we had actually, while I still owned that gym, we had decided, to actually partner up with each other. I flew to California, made the paperwork happen. And, I think a little bit shortly afterwards, Corona hit. And so I had to really spend time, working with my gym clients and working in the gym that I just, acquired into. And I had was given like 33% of the business with no buy-in, which is pretty sweet. And so, during that time, I had to really focus on that because there's a lot of overhead in that business. And so, in a short time, we had went from almost hitting close to 30 grand. I think it was in last April or whatever. We were on track for, and ended up getting set back all the way to $5 grand a month in the middle of Corona. But thankfully, I'd listened to Grant Cardone's book years ago, Sell or Be Sold, which talks about what he did in the 2008 crisis back then, or sure, the wrong words,
the recession.
The recession, right? And so he was really talking about, while everybody's contracting, you need to expand, go hard. And so that's what we did. We went ahead up to our budget from $1,000 a month for a 2 to 3 mile radius we were targeting around us to $3 grand a month. I really tightened up the sales process, hired 2 sales guys. We're generating, crazy amount of leads every day. And so, by the time I had left there, we were closing anywhere from 75 to 85%, conversion, selling $200 a month gym memberships at a base. About 25-30% of those, we were, selling paid in fulls, getting paid in fulls for the year. And on top of that, I developed a program where we were charging over $1,000 a month for gym memberships with personal training involved, and everything was retainers. So, we had gotten to about 50 grand a month, and next quarter came along, and we were having our quarterly meeting, and I was like, all right, guys, well, this quarter we're going to go from 50 to 250K. And they just lost their shit. They didn't want to deal with the chaos and stress, of scaling like that. And for me, it's just well, if we're not growing, we're dying. And so I basically had very kindly asked them, just to go ahead and buy me out. And so I could focus on the agency full time with Andrew. He really needed some more help. And and so that's kind of how we got to where we are today. That's the short version of the long story.
Yeah, so I'm glad you gave us the short version, mate. That highlights that is the best entrepreneurial story that I've heard for a while. I think that just what I get from that is just never give up, right? Just keep going, keep pushing, keep stepping into the next thing, keep leveling up. Heard a great saying. I forget exactly. Actually, no, it's Peter Diamandis. I think in one of his Peter's laws. One of his laws is if you fail, start again 2 times higher. Right. So if you fail, start again at the next level. Keep pushing yourself. Keep rising above. And that sounds exactly like what you did. I just kept pushing, kept growing, dabbled in a whole bunch of different stuff, and that's built a pretty powerful skill set. Right, and mindset and all the stuff that now you can leverage into your business. So let's get into that. So with both of those backgrounds smashing together, what is it that you're bringing to the market now?
Right now, I mean, what I believe we're the absolutely best at, man, is we call it our first place follow-up system. And what that is, I kind of learned, everybody talks about in sales and marketing, right? Follow up, message over and over again. And So, long story short, man, what we do, I believe we're the very best at following up. And so, I mean by that, anybody can go out and generate leads. Like, it's going to get easier for small businesses to do that themselves. But what happens is, you generate all these leads, nobody's there to follow up, nobody's dedicated to it, and you end up throwing a lot of money away, right? And so, what we've been able to do, with our clients, between the automated follow up and actually making that sound very humanistic. We've been able to add that with a virtual call center that we run, outsourcing overseas to keep our margins low. And so between all those things, we're able to get pretty much anybody that we work with in our vertical for the buck for the service that we provide. So it's like, most of our clients, they pay anywhere from like $800 to $1,200 a month. A lot of them have multi locations and things like that. And don't get me wrong, I used to charge really high ticket, like just to even start, the lead gen side with us. I used to charge like $6,000, like right out the gate, just for those first 3 months, and that was all paid up front. But the thing is, when you're starting out, that's great, kind of like the Tesla model. You need to get some cash flow and stuff. But if you want to dominate the market, you need to be willing to invest the most, give the most value. And I'm not saying like be necessarily the cheapest, because we're still not the cheapest, but we're somewhere in that middle ground. But the value that they get, it's like, you pay like, $5-10 a month to get everything that we include in our package. And so we take care of like the whole front end of the funnel for them. So we generate all the leads, Facebook. Andrew, he mostly manages all of that, ads and stuff like that. And, we use Google, YouTube and stuff like that too when needed, but most time Facebook is the winner. So we generate it, it comes in, we have the automations that go out, it goes to our call center, they call people right away. They're double tapping like every single time, man. It's like, every what is it, like, I don't know, like every month, man, the employee's like, man, do we really need to keep doing this double tapping for every call? I'm like, yep, every call, man, we're going to keep doing that, because guess what? It works. Our numbers are higher. And so we're able to take, let's say like, if you generate 100 leads, right, online through Facebook, like I think they say the average is like anywhere between 2 to 5% of those actually convert into, actual customers, right? Ours is, we're getting at like anywhere from 30 to 40% for our clients.
Wow. That's significant.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane.
Wow.
And so it's like in the real estate, and we're able to do this in just about any vertical. We had decided recently, with everything going on with the pandemic and everything, to split out into different verticals. And so we had started with real estate agents about 2 months ago now, Andrew. And we're closing, right now we're closing like 7 deals a week right now with our team.
Wow.
Hiring 6 people next week, alone to bring on. And so, right now, our goal, man, is to, get to $1 million a month within the next 12 to 16 months with what we have. And so, and it's all due to this first place follow-up system. And it's just, based around, hey, if you're not first, you're last, like Grant Cardone talks about. And we just really took that to heart. Our team, man, we call it, about dogs, horses, and tigers, I'm sure. But, man, we only hire tigers in our team, man. You have to be hungry, no matter how much. You could be like a full course meal, but you need to be hungry. And so, so everybody in our company, they're very hungry. They love what they do, and we take care of them. We reward them. And, everything is based on production. And if you're not hitting your numbers, you're gone, at the end of the day. Don't get me wrong. Like, we take responsibility as a company. Like, we look at, okay, is our systems, our process good? Can we be better? But I think your original question was like, what makes us different? And I think really the thing is, man, like anytime I do something, I want to be the best in the world at it. If we're not going to be the best in the world, then what's the point? Now, I don't mean like the biggest in the world. I don't necessarily mean like all these other things, but you can't be the best at everything, right? But pick one thing in your business to be the best at, and it becomes a lot easier. You build a business around being good at that one thing. And that's the one thing that we're good at that everybody hates doing. It's like you think about all these entrepreneurs thinking that you got to go to start these crazy tech companies or come up with some crazy innovative idea. And it's like, man, like, as they say, the riches are in the niches. So, for us, what I prefer to do is I've always picked getting into businesses doing the things that nobody wants to do. Like I say, I have a cell tower company where we worked on cell phone towers, climbing cell phone towers in the middle of winter, negative 20 degrees, this cold steel, the ice. I mean, it's like Discovery Channel stuff. Like, we can talk about, another time, but, it really just comes down to that. And one thing people hate is sales and follow up. They absolutely hate that stuff. They hate marketers. And so for me, I'm just like naturally attracted to those kind of things. And so, Andrew, when we got together, he just, in the short time that I've known Andrew, he's really grown a lot as a person, and we just have so much in common. It's like almost like in the beginning, we're kind of like, bumping our heads together. And so like crazy enough, like, Andrew, we ended up like making him in charge of the sales and everything. And so that I can, focus on some of the higher level business stuff. And, just cause like, I just been doing this for so long and have a little bit more of that experience. And, Andrew, he's just like, killing it, doing everything right. And like, we get along as business partners. We've had some hard times, over the last 6 months. We started working with attorneys at one point, got burned very hard, by somebody we're working with to help us with that. I mean, we ended up selling like 15 attorneys. Like the first month, I got $5,000 a month, pay for performance type stuff, pay per lead. Qualified live transfers. And so, just stuff didn't happen, things that promises are made, unfortunately. And so we ended up, burning, I don't know, I think like lost like what, $30,000 or something, dude, that month. Like right after paying taxes and everything too. But together, we don't we don't fight with each other, if somebody's getting a little heated, hitting at me, then, we just take a step back. But we've just, I don't know, just have always realized, if we, talk to each other and treat each other with respect and we think about things and use our brains, there's no problem that we can't solve. And so there's been stuff that's happened on both sides. And to be honest, man, like, I don't know, if Andrew was a chick, then maybe I'll take things to the next level, but, that's not our thing, but,
that's it, man. Respect and communication goes a long way in any relationship, but particularly with business partners. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so I love
all
it.
that happened.
He's a good guy.
When all that happened, like with the attorney stuff, I wasn't more mad. I was just looked at it like, I just look at it like crap happens. I don't know if you can curse on this, but like, crap happens. I don't think we even argued about it. We're just like, well, what can we do now? You know what I mean? I don't think we ever had an argument. It was just like, man, we were promised things that just weren't delivered. We were guaranteed things that never happened, and told that you're lying, and Sal has these freaking screenshots showing it guaranteed this will happen if this happens. We're like, man, you told us to go sell, all this stuff. And after we lost all that money, I don't think we ever argued about it. It was more or less just sucks. Let's just let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can pivot. It was definitely a dark time for sure. Because you're like, man, like you got all this overhead. We just hired more people, and then it's like, man, not only are we gonna lose clients, we're also gonna lose cash right out the door. And it's just like, man.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, like $30,000 by itself for us is not a lot, but when you tack that onto, like Andrew was saying, all the other stuff we had going on, just paying all of our taxes, hiring a bunch of more people, like, and just everything combined, that $30,000 in cash flow, dude. I mean, that's a few bucks,
but you're still here, right? And you're still powering on, and you've taken the lesson, and you won't do it again, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
That's the thing, man. We believe in failing fast and learning from our mistakes and improving really quickly and just not being afraid to do stuff. We tell our employees all the time, like, I'd rather have you go out and make a mistake, do things the wrong way, and actually try to do something, than to like not do it at all and just be complacent with where you're at. And so
you want to get used to it, right? You want to get used to failing and get used to that, the mental and the emotional side of that too. That if it does happen, you'd rather them lose quickly, fail fast, rather than have it happen once and have it be catastrophic.
Absolutely. And one of my opinions, I think it's more of a fact than an opinion, to be honest. But, I think one of the things that's like, if you want to be the best at something, like you have to practice every single day, right? And so in our business, for every position we hire, we make sure of like, there's a few things that we make sure of. And this is really the key to success for anybody. Once you get past like, I don't know, that, 10, 20, 30,000, level, typically, you start hiring people, right? And like, so many people and I've made this mistake myself several times, and I didn't even know I was making a mistake. You have to take a step back in your business, build the right foundation. And, I get into talk about that all day, but one of the most important pieces of your foundation is being clear about the kind of people you want to hire. And for us, that means, that they match the core values. We recruit, we interview, we hire, train, fire, promote, all based on our core values. Performance is a part of that, but it's both, right? So core values is huge, recognizing people for achieving those things, building that culture. Because at the end of the day, we want people, that you can, stand to work with. And I've literally lost, millions of dollars because of having one wrong person in my business. That was like cancer that completely destroyed it from the inside out. And, went from being the CEO of the company and like just like basically like a hostile takeover situation. And so it was unfortunate, but it was a very good learning incident at the time. And so you got to have the core values. You got to have what's called GWC. They got to get it. Like they got to truly understand what the job is, what the expectations of it are, how they fit into the bigger picture, which a lot of people don't explain that, like, why their role is so important. Because whether you're the small cog or the big cog, they're all important. One breaks down, the machine don't work, or it doesn't work nearly as well, right? Quality goes down.
Yeah.
And so then we have the W, they got to want it. Like, they got to like actually be passionate about working for your company. They got to like, go out and do the research about you guys. You come to that interview knowing who you are. And they got to be genuinely excited to get up and go to work every day. And don't get me wrong, people have bad days. I'm not expecting people to be 100% perfect every day. But like you genuinely got to enjoy what you're doing, right? And so the last one is capacity, right? And this one's huge, man. Too many people want to hire and train people to do stuff. Man, I've done that and you can do it, but it's only when you can really afford to, because otherwise you just end up doing the work yourself in the meantime for 3, 6, 12 months, depending on the position. And so they got to have the capacity to do the job, not only like understand what it is, have the experience, but, they got to have the time to be able to do it. They got to have the mental capacity. I can't tell you how many people I've hired that have all these problems with their wives, girlfriends. Definitely not talking about myself right now, but wives, girlfriends, friends, personal issues, drugs, alcohol, all that stuff, and all that seeps into their work. And so, when you have the GWC and when you have the core values, your life gets a lot easier. And it really just comes down to people, man. Anybody who's quote unquote made it as an entrepreneur, self-made people, they'll tell you, like they can't get there without anybody else. And that's one of the big things Grant Cardone talks about, and even in his Undercover Billionaire, like he wasn't out there trying to make money, cash. They cared about equity in companies, right? And get that, it's all about contacts and contracts, as he says. And so, like that's what we look at. There's big levers, and at the end of the day, our people, man, every single position, they train an hour a day in their role. So our salespeople, they're doing role playing. Our appointment setters, they're doing role playing. If they're doing like SEO or ads and stuff like that, some of the more technical skills, what they're doing a course every day. They're just going through it constantly, always learning. And that's something that we provide all of our employees. And, and we also, we hire everybody as a specialist in our company. We don't have them do a bunch of other things. We just have them do 1 or 2 things very, very good. And you can take somebody in, and to be honest, in some of our lower level positions, you can take somebody who's never even worked in a call center, as long as they have the GW and the core values, and within like 2 weeks, like they're just straight crushing it. When I tell people that they come into business, hey, you're gonna be making at least 400 calls a day. Sometimes they shit their pants, but but they get it, And so, anyways, I believe that's what makes that's how you get to be the best. Michael Jordan, dude, he dribbled every single day. Took his free throws every day. It's not all about these fancy stuff, and too many marketers out there selling tactics to everybody and all these other things that just really don't matter at the end of the day. Like those things are great.
If you're not doing it every single day, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, exactly, man. So, anyways, I can talk about that all day. So, but
that's it. No, look, it's really good stuff. And I said there's those changes as you move through a business, and when you get to that, as you said, that sort of stage where you're at, investing in team is critical, and it's a major shift in your business, and it's a whole other skill set. So, look, really love the conversation, guys. It's been classic entrepreneurial process and journey. Really enjoyed sort of the ups and downs and how you just persevered and kept going, kept iterating, and sort of you finally seem to have come together and gotten it into a format that's working well for both of you and working really well for your clients. So kudos to you. Thanks for stopping by, and thanks for a lot of information, a lot of knowledge in there for anyone that's listening on how to just keep persevering, try a bit of everything, build that skill set, build your mindset, and just keep going until you find the right vehicle. But thanks, gents. Thanks for swinging by. I'll let you carry on. I'm going to carry on and get some more episodes done today, but really appreciate you swinging by. Really good episode. Hope it was good for you. And we'll see you on the next one, everyone. Thanks for dropping by.
Absolutely, Chris. Hey, real quick, Chris, sorry to cut you off on your outro here.
No.
One last thing before I go, guys. I think Andrew agreed with me on this, and anybody who's read this book, if you haven't read the 10X Rule by Grant Cardone, don't think about it. Just read it. you read that book and it's a waste of your time, let me know, dude. I'll Venmo you the money back that you spent on it. But like, please go read it. It literally will change your mindset around business and will help you achieve all the goals you want. And like, that's kind of the foundation between everything that we do. So that's it, guys.
Good really solid recommendation. Grant's always got good stuff to offer. So check that out. Go connect with the guys. I'll drop links to all of their socials and all of their links so you can go connect with them, find out more about them, join them on their journey. Thanks for stopping by, gents. And for everyone that's tuned in at home, we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for stopping by.